Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new episode of our BMF discussion podcast. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How's it going, Dana?
It is going wonderful. Excited to talk about this show because season two is actually good. Woo!
Yes, season two was very good. Want to take a quick minute to thank everybody that checked out our review of episode one with Mr. Gary Swaby. Unfortunately, Gary is unable to join us today, but we will be doing more reviews of the show in the future. But today, I wanted us to have a special discussion because there's quite a bit of storylines that happened in episode three, Devil's Night, which is currently on Stars. If you just saw the episode right now, a lot of stuff happened in the episode. So there's a few things we wanted to touch on today because very interesting talking points. So like I said, this is not going to be a review. We're going to basically just give our opinions and talk about three particular story points from this episode to try to figure out where we think the show is going from here. So we're going to start off this discussion what I think is probably going to be maybe something we both agree on, but I'm very curious to hear what everybody else thinks about. One question I have coming out of this particular episode, the very first question: do we believe that Lamar is justified for finally getting his revenge on Meech? For those who don't know, in this episode, you saw that Lamar finally was able to get his hands on Meech, well, able to take a shot at Meech, and he did succeed in shooting him. And the way the episode ends is that Meech is being rushed to the hospital. So I'm going to go to you first, Dana, and ask you, being everything that we saw in this episode and everything that we've seen from the season so far, do you think that Lamar was justified in finally being able to get his revenge on Meech?
Yes and no. Um, the thing is that I believe Meech is not Meech. Lamar is the type of person where anything that you say against him, he views it as a threat of violence that he has to take you down. Even if he was to say, hey man, you stubbed my toe, just randomly, hey, you pushed me in the subway. He is the kind of person who would then shoot your head off. Um, the thing is that his what would you call it? The thing that when you have the thing when you have the thing. Anger management skills. I forgot temper. His temper and his
Yes.
temperament is so uncontrollable that what he may view as being justified is really ridiculous. But here's the thing also, certain situations is a line of disrespect. We do know, for example, that Meech had a kid with his ex-girlfriend. So that is considered a sizable disrespect. From season one, we do know that all he wanted to do was go back to his daughter. He loves his daughter fiercely, which is great and amazing. But his tactic to make sure that he has his daughter in his possession is executed wrong. I feel that he comes from a really great place where if you show him any sign of disrespect, he views it not as just a threat to himself, but a threat to his placement in society and as a man overall. So to answer is whether or not he's justified is a yes and a no. He was disrespected, just that his tactic of going about it is so fierce and extreme that maybe no. If here's the thing, also, from my understanding, Lamar was incarcerated during that time period. I don't know whether or not she said, hey, I'm going to promise myself to you and just you and wholly you. That I don't know. So her going with Meech, that maybe she, yes, it's free will. No one owns her, technically, just in general. She's allowed to be with whomever she wants to be with. And him kind of treating it as a my property situation, you can view as disrespectful. In itself, she has the right to retaliate against him right back if she wants to, because again, she's not betrothed to anyone. This is not some type of arranged marriage situation. So but in the streets, we understand that, oh, that girl, she's with Meech. And we already know that you already had issues with Meech. oh, she's, you gonna let that girl play you? You gonna let Meech play you like that? So I understand where he's coming from. But for me, it's a really hard question to answer. And no, if you're holding the Lamar gun to my head, is he justified? No, because let people go and be whomever and act however they want to be. And as we've seen with Meech, he's gonna. It seems like he's gonna have multiple women with and multiple children by those women. So it's kind of a free for all when it comes to relationships in this show. We have also Meech looking a little flirty at Lala Anthony's character, who we already know is married. So again, is there any kind of lines that people are not going to cross on this show? I know none that would be justified if the husband comes and like shoots Meech's head off. It's kind of justified. Maybe. I don't condone violence. I'm afraid of that answer.
Well, no, I think that was a good answer. I think you made a lot of great points. From my perspective, I think that it is a situation of there being these complicated characters, because one thing that we can agree, and we've said this on the previous podcast we did, is that we all like Lamar as a character, even though we're not supposed to, because the guy is violent and, as you said, he's hot headed, but we love him as a character. Meech is a character that is, again, very cocky. He is obviously, but yet you're still rooting for him, because this is a story about him and his brother and how they turned BMF into a successful enterprise. So you understand that you have these complex characters that you root for. Um, and I think that that's what makes it interesting. That's why I'm very curious to hear what other people think about this. But my stance is that I do believe that Lamar is justified, for the simple reason that, you look at season one, right? He gets out of jail. Obviously, all he wants to do is get his family back. So you understand from that perspective, and I do agree that the way he goes about it is wrong, because he's very aggressive, so on and so forth. But you understand that's what he wants to get back to. So seeing that now that his ex has moved on, she's now with Meech. I understand that there's going to be some jealousy and hatred towards that, and he really can't accept that. But the fact that this guy almost got killed last season at the hands of Meech, um, I understand him wanting retaliation. And I think that when this season starts, again, Meech has moved on. He's really feeling himself. He thinks that, yes, he's thinking about expanding BMF. He's all thinking about, yes, I finally won. Lamar has lost, and now I just want to do what I want to do. But you kind of want to see him also have a lot of issues as he's trying to expand. So it makes sense that something like this would happen, because it's realistic. And again, as we've seen it in the documentary, obviously, yes, he has a history with Lamar. Obviously, they don't have that as the same. The character has a different name; it's a little bit different, but they have a history together. So it makes sense that he would retaliate and go after him, so on and so forth. But I personally feel, though, when they have portrayed Lamar up to this point, after what you see, he almost died, and then he comes back in this season. I kind of feel like it makes sense to show him trying to get some type of revenge. So I kind of feel it is justified. And then you made the point about the baby, because again, they do have a baby together, right? That to me is, yeah, she didn't just move on. She started a new life with Meech. So I kind of feel like I wanted to see some type of what was going to happen when he came back into the picture. And we got a glimpse of that in this episode. So I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. But in my perspective, I kind of feel like we needed to see Meech get humbled at some point this season. This may not be the only time we see that happen, but in the case of Lamar, I feel
Mhm.
like that absolutely had to happen to remind you that Lamar is still a threat, and that he's still going to go after what he feels is his. So that's just my thoughts on that particular story. But no, go ahead.
No, one of the things that I cannot stop thinking about is, and it's not easy to compare them, and I'm not really comparing them. It's just the way that how unique from Power, Raising Canaan, what is it Raising Canaan? Yeah, one of the Raising
Yeah, yeah,
Canaans.
yeah.
One of the
Raising Canaan.
powers. So yes, so unique from Raising Canaan, and then if you look at Lamar, how they both handle um, kind of being screwed over completely differently. Unique operates in silence, and Lamar operates in loudness, it seems like. It and so I was wondering if Lamar was able to take a step back and kind of operate more silently in terms of not right after we get out of prison, we escape, we're doing the same thing that we just did to get ourselves recaught. If he was to operate more in the shadows and be more cov- undercover, what it is that you're doing, would he now granted he was able to take a shot at Meech, but also look at what's going on with the streets. Remember when he came out of prison, he kind of lost everything that he was built. Remember, everyone is kind of skedaddled and went to their own separate teams, and now they're on Meech's side. Remember, he came to them as more like, let's build this up as a family unit, as opposed to being scared and shooting at each other. Let's just build it up that way. And so now I don't know what's going to happen in the future. That tactic could be more successful than Lamar. Lamar could actually just again study what's going on and observe what other people, why people are running over to Meech. Is it a sign of disloyalty? Is it a sign of fear? I believe that Lamar is a person who operates from fear as opposed to respect. And we already know kind of in this gang life territory, but either one will get you killed. This again questions whether or not is it better to be feared than loved, that whole concept. But if he was just able to take a step back and then plot out things better, maybe it would be more fruitful at the end, aside from, oh, I think I just killed Meech. Because then it wonders for me, okay, but now what? This killing Meech, which we all know is not gonna die. We saw the documentary, but the shooting Meech in the long run change your trajectory. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it do? Where do you go from? What's the next step? Are you now gonna go and get the boys back together? Is it like, oh, look at him, he's dead. Come back to me. Or maybe I don't know exactly what his tactic is further on. It seems like he operates in the now as in opposed to the future. And so that's why I just kind of wish that he would you could still be aggressive once you execute something, but take that moment to actually sit and execute it more slowly. Because I don't know what the ultimate end game is with him.
I agree 100% with what you say. Yes, he's thinking about the present. Maybe he didn't really meticulously think through all aspects because he's not thinking about the business stuff right now. He's thinking about he wants to get revenge on Meech. So I'm curious to see where things go from here. I will say, as far as Meech is concerned in this episode, he has a lot on his plate. Obviously, we saw in episode 2, he got his cousin involved, and then now he's hearing rumors that his cousin is doing his own thing out there with all the stuff he set him up with. So I'm curious to see where that goes. And then at the same time, with K9, K9 had given him that order to kill this guy that he wanted him to go after. No, to bring him back alive. And of course, the guy gets killed. And his girl was also messing around with that guy as well. So I'm
No
very
one's
curious to
loyal
see.
on this show.
Oh yeah. No, nobody is loyal.
This is kind of like why I'm wondering why you going through all of this energy for these people, Lamar, when nobody is really loyal.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why I say I'm curious to see what happens next. So I think they did a very good job. But yeah, Meech has a lot of stuff on his shoulders now. So this makes for a very interesting storyline to explain where he goes from here. So stay tuned for that. So any other thoughts on this particular story point before we get to the next one?
No, just that I really love the character of Lamar so much that it broke my heart when he died during the first season. And I kind of feel like he's going to die again, but like permanently now. And I don't want him to die. I just really think he infuses such, he's chaotic energy. And sometimes you need that chaotic energy to keep you on your toes, both as a viewer and with other characters. And he is chaotic, and that's kind of what I love about him. He's unpredictable, which can also
Mhm.
be his downfall.
Exactly. I agree 100%. So look forward to seeing what happens next. I think we already know that Meech is going to survive. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, the guy is still around, so but I still want to see how it plays out storyline wise for the show.
Wouldn't it be something if he doesn't and they do like a whole Scream thing? Remember when we thought Drew Barrymore was the lead of the movie and actually she died in like the first 10 minutes?
Oh no! Well,
Oh
yeah,
my
well
gosh.
that would be hilarious, but there's no way. There's no way. But I mean, we have
No,
to
no, no,
see. We
there's
have to
no
see what
way.
happens.
But that would be hilarious. But he's not gonna die. It's fine.
Yeah, no, but
But still,
it is going to be fun to see them go back and forth though. So I look forward to seeing that because obviously, yes, they have some unfinished business. So we'll see where they go from here. Um, but yeah, so let's now go to another topic that I thought was quite interesting and juicy for this particular episode: the continued struggle between Charles and Lucille. And the question that I have after watching this episode is, do we all believe that Charles is going to eventually cheat on Lucille? Now, I would like to go first in this scenario. Uh, yes, I see it coming from a mile away. Obviously, we saw that he did the work for, he was singing in the choir, got very close with the woman that he was singing with. Um, and then he also decided to opt to do work for her later in this episode at her house. Now, she was going to pay him. And 1 minute he was hesitant. Well, let me stop right there. She wanted to dance with him. He started dancing with her.
Hmm.
She opted to pay him. He took the money. He was hesitant to do so. But, you know, the whole thing with the struggle between him and Lucille is that it's always about money. You need to have money. You have to pay for this. You have to pay for that. So I kind of feel like it's going to get to a point where, yes, he took the money, but he definitely could have did a lot more. And I think that eventually he is going to cheat on her because he's not getting this type of love at home. So it kind of feels like it's headed in that direction from what I can see. Um, and then I also find it funny how Pastor Swift, aka Snoop Dogg, now he is, getting involved as a counselor. He had the whole speech to her about you need to work on being submissive to your husband, so on and so forth. But then he talks to Charles, and Charles is like, "Oh, hey, I never put my hands on anybody of the cloth, but you keep talking to me this way, and I will do that." And I will tell you this: I would love to see Snoop Dogg get into it with Charles because, hey, he has a wrestling background, right? He was in WWE. He made appearances in WWE, AEW. So I want to see Snoop Dogg try to fight, so I can see him get whooped by Charles. So hopefully that does happen. But I just found that to be quite entertaining portion of the episode because it's a lot of tension. Again, it's consistent. We saw it from the first episode this season, the continued downfall of this marriage. So my answer would be yes. I do feel he is going to eventually cheat on Lucille. I see it coming from a mile away. But what do you think, Dana?
Remember, Sasha Banks can teach him some moves. That's a cousin.
Oh yeah.
So that's also there. Here's the thing for me. I like drama and slightly chaos, and they seem to be a couple who is growing apart. She seems to be smothering his soul. She smothered the kid, she's smothering him, and I think she's smothering herself. We saw that she is trying. Remember when she bought the negligee? I think you would call it. That's the proper terminology, the negligee. But she again is just a turnoff in terms of how she speaks to him, how it seems how she just carries this whole marriage. There is the incident with the magazines, and like, oh my God, it was a great sin that he was looking at the dirty pictures, So I just feel that she's so controlling that she is driving him away. And it's not necessarily, I don't view it as sexual. I view it as more of like, I'm a man. I want to feel like I'm important, that I matter. And she is so domineering of that, that it takes away his manhood. Is this marriage still salvageable? Yes, it could still be salvageable. But at this moment in time, I think we're going to start seeing that break and that fracture of the family. And I really like to say that it coincides alongside with, remember how the show opened with the fires and the city is just burning down and, you know, everything is falling apart? To me, that's also a metaphor for their marriage. Everything is just falling apart right now. And if you look at how she behaves, remember with the kids and get out of my house. And I understand you don't want your kids to be drug dealers. You want them to make an honest living and you want them to be successful and not, do drugs and be a stereotype. I understand that. Or it's like, or get out of my house. Sometimes that tactic does not always work. It does not always end up being like, yeah, mom, I really miss home and I really want to come back and, are you okay? Please forgive me. It's not going to always work that way. As we've seen with Meech, we've seen him, he's prospering, even though it's wrong, he's still somewhat prospering doing what he's doing and finding that sense of freedom. We're getting back with the brother because there is a whole issue with the father that I just want to slightly touch about. And that has to go with the father seems to have a lack of control in his own household. And as a result, he is extra hard on his other son. When you go about with the car business, and remember him just wanting to be like, hey, let's incorporate some new ideas. Here's what I'm thinking. We have to modernize. We can't always do the same things that you've been doing in the 50s. Let's at least reach somewhat of the 80s. Let's at least do 79. Can we hit 1979 at least? So for me, it seems like because he lacks a sense of control in his house, that he is trying to control his son. And I believe that's when the son said, I left one controlling situation from leaving my brother who was controlling him to now being controlled by my father, which for me, we all know how it ends up going, but he's going to drive his son even further away from the home. And then who else does anyone have? When you look at the dynamic of the mother and the father, they've both, in a way, kind of driven their sons out the home, and then they're stuck with each other, but they're trying to control each other, or she's more trying to control him, that it's going to fracture. It's going to fall apart at some point. And so while, unless someone has a group intense family therapy, where we actually understand and recognize everyone's voices and not try to speak down to or say, I'm their parent, I know best, there may not be reconciliation for that. And also the fact that he was doing the flirting in the church with his wife, just mean mugging. That's really disrespectful. But it's also, I felt that he did it as a point of saying, this is what you're driving me to do. Because he wasn't sneaky about it. He was all like, yeah, praise the Lord, and the wife was just, So that is to probably give her some cues. This is, like I said, you're driving me to do this. And look at me being happy. But is he really happy, even though he may be driven to another woman? We don't know. I think it's a temporary response to a much longer situation. It's a temporary high. You can look at it as, here's this nice young woman who's looking at me. She's laughing at me. She's giving me some form of attention. There's chemistry. Just for a moment, I feel seen. And so that's, for me, is all he wants. He wants to walk this world being seen as a man and as a person and as a member, not only just a member of the household, but as head of the household. And he's losing that. And I think he's losing a sense of himself, which may end up driving him into having an affair. So I don't know how this all plan out. But at this moment, I'm sorry, I may be a terrible person. I'm team breakup.
You can come back later, but y'all need a break. Y'all stressing me out. I mean,
Yeah,
you chastising the man for every single thing that he does. I'm ready to leave the house.
yeah.
That's kind of how I
Well,
feel.
I think that was an excellent takeaway, and I think you nailed pretty much everything about what exactly the issue is. The only other point that I was going to add is, like you said, the control, but I also want to add that I'm very glad that they put this whole disconnect between the father and the son in this show, because it's an excellent representation how there are different generations today and how the younger generation, they don't really understand or respect certain things that the older generation has done, and then vice versa. The older generation feels as though, well, this is the way that we do things. They don't really understand how the younger generation operates at all. So I'm very glad they put that in this show, because that is an ongoing discussion that happens today. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't have anything else to add. It is control, and I do feel as though it is best for them to break up. But Charles is definitely going to cheat, because I kind of feel like we saw that coming. We see that coming, and the fact that
he needs
Pastor
to.
Swift is now getting involved, aka Snoop Dogg is now trying to do his counseling thing. But again, as they point out, he's on his third marriage, right? So we'll see what happens.
Am
But
I
listen,
on?
I want to see that. I want to see that fight between these two, because I want to see Snoop Dogg get knocked out. I want to see how they play that off, because it feel like it's going to happen now that they tease it. I want to see it, but we'll see.
It kind of feels like he's a terrible pastor in a way. I don't know. I don't
Oh
trust
yeah.
him
Oh,
yet.
he
I still
is.
think
Oh,
he's
he
gonna.
is.
It just feels like he's gonna run home with the church money. I don't
Yeah.
trust him yet.
No, he is meant to be a shady pastor, and I know in the black communities, especially, I've run into my fair share of shady pastors as well. So they had to put this in there because it's very realistic. Um,
Oh
but
yeah,
we'll see what happens for sure. Um,
we'll see. But I'm interested to know what's going on with that pastor. And also,
Absolutely.
by the way, going to the pastor, I understand why you would do that because pastors are, considered to be community leaders and they give advice and they're supposed to be that spiritual guide. But also as a man, do you know how disrespectful that is? Like to tell another person your business and to therefore allow them into your home, into your marital problems. So I also, again, understand why he's completely frustrated. Heck, if he decides to leave the church at this point, is he to blame? That's kind of what I wonder. Like, how far can this break go? Will he leave the church?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Hey, some stuff is definitely about to happen though, so I look forward to seeing where they go from here. Um, yeah, very good job. So let's go now to, I think, what is the final point. Well, no, we'll come back, and if you have any other things you want to address as for something else. But the final question that I wanted to dive into is this episode. They revealed, again, we saw the dynamic once again between B-Mickie and Detective Bryant, and of course, some very interesting revelations in this episode. And once again, the question I pose is, what is B-Mickie's next move? Now, let me just say a few quick things here. In this episode, we did see that Detective Bryant shows him B-Mickie where they store the bodies of the people that, obviously that passed away from doing drugs, so on and so forth, and reveals to him that they discovered that Kato was actually pregnant when she died. And I think that is a very interesting parallel because in the previous episode, when B-Mickie visits his mom, she tells him, "Oh, when are you going to have a kid? I want a grandchild." So very heartbreaking for B-Mickie to get that news, obviously. But also, what I like about this episode is, again, they show you the effect of drugs on the community, because you see in this
Mhm.
episode that Meech, he's looking for this guy again. He's looking for the guy that K9 tells him that, "I want you to bring him back to me alive." And he comes across a woman who he finds out is actually his one of his old school teachers, right? Who used to watch him
No,
when he was a kid.
wasn't that the babysitter? Yeah.
Babysitter, yes, yes. She used to watch him when he was a kid. and you see that she's out here willing to do whatever she wants to do just to get a hold of some drugs. And of course, he gives her the drugs. But B-Mickie shows up because he's the one who gets the product for Meech. And again, it shows you the dynamic of how they deal with the community that they have destroyed, and how Meech has his stance where, well, I'm in business now. I got to do what I need to do. I made the choice to be in business, so I have to do this. And then B-Mickie is seeing once again, yes, Meech is a bad guy. We are bad because we contributed to all of this. So I love how they put that dynamic in there. So I applaud them for that. But the question I had is, what is B-Mickie's next move? Because at the end of this episode, when they are about to leave, he stalls and then he makes a call as if he's going to make a call to Bryant to try to call this off and do something differently. And then that's when Lamar shows up. Now, the thing is this, we didn't see the next episode yet, right? But I'm pretty sure because Terry was there as well, he's suspicious of why B-Mickie stalled. Did he know that Lamar was going to show up? Did he know? And the fact that the cops were already there, Bryant was already there with the party, they were already there. That has to look suspicious to somebody, especially Terry, because Terry was there. So that's why I asked the question, what is B-Mickie's next move? Is Terry going to be suspicious? So my thought is, yes, Terry will be suspicious, and we're going to find out what happens next week. Because again, in the prior episode, when Terry had to be the one to drop off the drugs to Meech, B-Mickie was nowhere to be found. So I kind of feel like a lot of this stuff is going to start to get suspicious to, Terry, obviously, and eventually Meech. But my thought is that, yes, as far as what his move is in the next episode, I'm very curious. Obviously, right now, they're worried about, if Meech is okay after getting shot. They're more concerned about that. But there has to be questions raised about what is B-Mickie doing? What is his stance in all of this? So what are your thoughts on this topic, Dana?
I feel that they're going to be suspicious of B-Mickie, but for the wrong reasons. I believe, so sorry. I believe that they're going to suspect that maybe it was B-Mickie who set him up for Lamar to kill him because of the way how he was stalling was so obvious. Like when you drive, you suddenly stop, the car is at an angle for you to run out and make a phone call. Then all of a sudden Lamar comes in and boom, 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 boom. And the way that the angle of the car is, you can't just take off right away because it's, again, at a certain angle. So it looks like, to me, that it would have been B-Mickie who set him up. Then all of a sudden you have the Detective Bryant, kind of just right there in the corner chilling. So he's probably going to be the first to arrive. And we already know that he is harassing both of these boys and that he has some kind of like obsession with them. So it just feels like, why is everything happening so suddenly? You just happen to be right there and watching us. He just happened to be shot. He just happened for Lamar to come up right away, all at the same time period where you still on the phone. So I think there's going to be a much larger spotlight on B-Mickie, and everyone is going to be suspicious. I think they may end up taking out the wrong person, which will be B-Mickie again. I feel like a lot of innocent people are going to get caught up in this situation, including we saw with the whole babysitter, which was the saddest scene I have just ever seen. And again, it just shows you the larger scope of drugs and how it affects people. I mean, the local babysitter and how she's willing to literally do anything and everything to him just in order to get another hit. And as you saw, he was very hesitant. This wasn't something like, yeah, let's go. I'm a bad person, so what? You can see he genuinely had like a regret, not necessarily, but he thought about it. It was a thought process of him. It weighed on him of what he was about to do. And so it just, again, it shows the larger scope of we view the war on drugs as being something separate. Oh, I'm not doing it, so it's fine. But you see how people directly or so are associated with you are impacted. And then the kid, because remember, she had a kid with her, which made it extra sad. So you see how the kid is now affected by this. It's a trickle-down effect. So that was depressing in itself. But B-Mickie, he's going to get blamed for a lot of things. One, for stalling, so it makes it look like, oh, it was a plan for Lamar to come and shoot us. And then also for Detective Bryant, what was you doing? We saw you pull away, so we knew that got out to make the phone call. So we knew that you were stalling on purpose and that you wasn't going to do what I said you was going to do. So he is in everyone's crosshairs, and I don't see him making it past half of the season, like the next half of the season. I don't know. And then we also see that it's weighing on him as well. Remember when he was like, "I'm gonna make you my right hand man." You could see that weight of, "Please don't. I don't want it." He kind of silently just pleading anything but this, because now I'm being held hostage by Detective Bryant, and he has his obsession with you, and he's not going to let me go, and he's going to come after me and my whole family probably. So he's really torn about this, but I don't think that tornation will last long, because he's going to be killed.
I agree. I know we had Jeremiah Lutumba left a comment saying that he thinks that Terry is going to kill B-Mickie. That could very well happen. I mean, Terry is the
Mm-hmm.
one that definitely should be suspicious at this point because of what happened in the prior episode and in this episode. So I'm very curious to see where it goes. Um,
Yeah. Because also
this,
remember, at the end of the day, they may always fight. The family's going to always fight, but they're brothers.
mhm.
And you shot his brother to the point where it didn't look like he was half dead. Like, oh, he did. So, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I will also add that B-Mickie is the one that killed the guy that Meech was supposed to bring back alive as well. I did stop and watch that twice, but no, he was the one that shot him because Meech was about to shoot him, but then B-Mickie got him in the head. So that, yeah,
See, you acting
that's not
extra
good either.
suspicious.
Yeah.
No, he's being too extra. We, the audience, understand why, but to them,
Hmm.
they don't. So he's being extra. Like,
Hmm.
what is he doing on the side? That's what I want to know. What's really going on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So look forward to seeing what happens next. But those were the three main questions that I wanted to bring up. Now, is there anything else that you think we should mention about this episode that you think we did
Um,
not
I'm
mention?
I'm really trying to think. No, I think those were
Now,
like the three main things, but I really liked this episode and how it's going. The plots are plotting and they're much quicker than they was in the previous season.
I
And so
agree.
there's a lot of different
I,
themes. Yeah.
I do
Oh, and
have
I
a quick
just wanted to
question.
really, oh, yeah,
Oh no,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead. I got a question after you say what you were going to say.
Just really quickly, I thought that Leslie Jones, who I think was in the second episode, I'm not sure, she kind of
Yeah,
felt
she
really
was
out
in
of place.
she was in the second episode.
She felt so out of place.
Well,
I'm like,
hey,
is this a
she is a comedian, but she's playing a cop in this show, so that's
She was a cop comedian. It was like, I get it, but sometimes I feel like she plays herself. It was just Leslie
well,
Jones as a cop.
I well, I'm sure we're going to see her again because they're probably going to again. They'll have some scenes into the further down the years. We'll see her again, obviously, because in the present day it will in when they started the show, yeah, they showed her. So we'll see. But one comment that I just was going to make is in regards to Terry and his story in this particular episode. How did you like all of this stuff going on with the underhanded business practices of them competing with this other company and tires getting slashed and all this other stuff? How did you feel about how they dealt with that situation?
So, for people who don't know, the cab industry is basically the mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they tell you where to go, what spot you have, and you have to like pay a fee. It's like here in New York City, that's the thing. That whole airport situation that was popping off in what was it, Detroit they're in, that whole airport situation is the same thing that happens here in New York City. Don't think that it doesn't. So basically, they was up against the cab mob. It was the cab mob and them, and they're trying to fight for the exact same equality as the cab mob. So I was completely for it. I'm surprised that no one died, but I do think that that is a thread that may come back to haunt them later on. We do know that they're trying to get their business up. They do have a couple of customers who are of the lighter shade, which would probably pay more. Also, they drive anywhere in the city, so you have that lack of discrimination. Like you can go to Harlem in the 80s, or you can go to the Bronx, God bless your soul. And you can go to wherever it is that you have to go to. But that will also open up more avenues and streams of income. So I do like how they operated in order to say, hey, we will not be weaseled by you. But tires and slashing tires is just a baby move compared to what they can do in retaliation. So I think that that may be an important storyline later on. And this is kind of where I worry about the father, because the father may end up being the person who gets the brunt of everything because of how his son acted. So I do not feel that this car business is going to last long. I do feel that, remember, we opened up with the fires and the metaphors. That could be the car business that his father is basically having right now. I do feel like something is going to go up in flames, and maybe those cars, and maybe bodies, but I feel like it's definitely going to be cars. It's going to be some kind of retaliation. So yay for your baby win, but what's going to happen afterwards? I'm concerned.
Very good point. I'm also concerned. I look forward to seeing what happens though. I just thought it was very comical how they beat down the guy after, at the end of this episode, towards the end, they beat down that guy. I thought that was hilarious. But listen, yeah, it makes sense that they would take that reaction because it was very dramatic at the beginning of the episode, when the tires went out. And yeah, that was very dramatic. Something could have happened, really bad to everybody involved. And his sister did get hurt. So, but I look forward to seeing what
Mhm.
happens next. And to go on to what you said, it was an excellent episode. It's been a great season so far. So we definitely going to have more discussions in the future. I'm sure of that. But in the meantime, I hope everybody is enjoying BMF. Uh, and hey, what can I say? Definitely stay tuned for more content, more thoughts on BMF as well as other shows. We do have Snowfall returning in February. We have Power returning in March. So we're definitely going to be talking about more of these shows. So stay tuned for that. But Dana, do you have any shout outs that you would like to give as well as plug any other things that you're working on this current entertainment channel?
Yes. First of all, the entertainment channel is a spinoff of the main channel. We still have the main channel,
Yes,
and we
we do
have
still
this
have the main
channel.
channel. Mm-hmm.
So you can subscribe for entertainment stuff, because need more subscribers. But no, basically we are, like you said before, we have all of this, the powers and the other shows that are down the line. But we also have Love and Marriage Huntsville, which I did not know was a huge popular thing. So we have Love and Marriage Huntsville, we have Love and Marriage DC that is coming up. We have a huge interview with all of the cast members except for Winter. Also coming, we have a bunch of TV shows that were just announced. I have been really busy with the Television Critics Association, TCAs, where basically they present all of their shows. Every network gathers together and you're all huddled together, and they present their shows for the upcoming season. I will be doing a lot of breakdowns of different shows for that. There is one show that I really want y'all to put on your radar. It's called The Consultant. That's also coming up. We're going to have interviews with the cast. We're going to have a bunch of interviews with a bunch of other shows, TV shows. Also, there are movies. We have a lot planned. We're trying to get Ant-Man and a Wasp, so that is down the line as well. So just stay tuned. We're just finalizing everything and getting out as many videos and different brands of TV shows and movies that you guys like, and interviews and reviews and everything else. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we continue to watch.
Absolutely. So I want to take a minute to thank all the people that have subscribed to the channel. If you are enjoying the content, please feel free to continue liking and commenting on the videos. Especially if you like BMF, that we're covering BMF. We definitely want to see you liking and commenting on this video so we know to do more of these shows. Well, go ahead, Dana.
Lastly, I don't know why I forgot because I'm old and my brain is like fried. Um, we will be having interviews with the cast of BMF on a weekly basis. We're getting that started. We're working with Starz. Every time that there is going to be an episode that's out, we're going to break it down with the actual cast member of the show. So that's really exciting. So that's popping off real soon. I said popping.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely stay tuned for that. That's very exciting opportunity. We definitely would like to extend a thank you to Starz for the opportunity. But yeah, if you are interested in that content, definitely stay subscribed because it is going to be starting to happen. You're going to probably start to see that. I think the next episode, I believe it
Yeah,
is.
4.
Yeah, episode 4. So definitely stay tuned to the channel for that. And again, we thank you all for those who have been commenting. I know I did see, I mentioned earlier, we had Jeremiah Lutumba, and we know we have Inga71. They've both been commenting. They also are subscribed to us on the main channel. So thank you all for commenting. Definitely, if you like the content, continue to leave your thoughts. And we'll be back. And as for what's coming in the future, there are a couple other shows that we are going to be covering on this channel. Perhaps we're going to be doing some Bel Air talks. Perhaps we're going to be doing some Godfather of Harlem, which I know is out right now. I've actually started to watch season 3, so I will be talking about that show at some point as well. And of course, the Wu-Tang and American Dream, that show that's on Hulu, it's in its final season, starting soon as well. So we're probably going to be talking about that too. So overall, you definitely want to stay subscribed or consider subscribing to this channel. And again, if you just want to catch up on Snowfall and Power when those shows return, we will continue to talk about those shows on the main Koalition channel as well. But in the meantime, go ahead, Dana.
Sorry, just to interject really quickly, we also have, if you like the hippity hops, PBS, they're doing a huge special with the hip hop and how a generation it came together to kind of make this revolutionary music in terms of how protestive being during the Black Lives Matter and even before Black Lives Matter. We have Chuck D and a bunch of other people, so we've been invited to that, and that's going to be a nice press conference. It's going to be also on the YouTube's channels. So yay!
Absolutely. Definitely check that out if you like hip hop for sure. But that concludes our discussion for today on BMF. Thank you for your continued support, and we will talk to you all next week.